All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I know that we're going to have some more people that add because inevitably people are going to show up when they can, but I do want to make use of everybody's time. So hopefully we'll go ahead and get started. And if they need something else, I'm recording this video so we can send it out to other people later on if we end up missing somebody. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first thing I want to do is give a quick overview on ARPA. So that's obviously what we're all here to talk about today and how that affects, especially in local and county government. So we kind of want to go over that and talk about that a little bit more in specifics. So we've got ARPA is obviously different than the CARES Act money that was last year, and it's different than the infrastructure money that they're working on right now. So this is a completely different set of money. This has already been passed. So just a little bit of background on what we're talking about. This is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. It was signed into law March 11th of this year. So again, that has already been completely gone through the whole process and signed into law. It contains a total of $1.9 trillion in overall spending, and we'll get into some more detail in a minute on what all that's including. And then it actually provides specifically $350 billion in assistance for states, counties, municipalities, territories, and tribal governments. So obviously that's the hot button for the folks on the call today, is how that's going to shake out and what that means for you guys. All right, just a little bit of breakdown on financials and how this is all going to go. So each of the individual states plus the District of Columbia are going to split $195.3 billion. And that's going to be broken up into $25.5 billion. It's going to be equally divided amongst the states in DC with a minimum of $500 million each. And then also it's going to include another $168.5 billion that's going to be distributed based on the state's share of unemployed workers from October 1st to December 31st of 2020. So obviously the states that had more unemployed folk are going to have more of that share, but again, they're going to have a fair amount one way or the other. Then on local governments, meaning county and city and towns and villages and townships and all those things, there's going to be $130.2 billion that's going to be split amongst those. There's going to be $65.1 billion specifically given to counties, and that's going to be allocated based on the county's share of the U.S. population. So just basically size by population. There's going to be $45.6 billion given to metro cities. So that's going to be cities that are a population of 50,000 or more. And then there's going to be another $19.5 billion that's going to be provided to smaller cities. So that's going to be cities that are under 50,000 in population. And then that's going to be allocated by the share of the city's overall population of cities within that state. So they're trying to be as fair as they can as how they break this down. Some of it's just based on population size. Some of it's based on the amount of folks that are unemployed. But there's definitely a method to the madness on how it's going to be distributed. All right. The next thing is the timing of payments. So the funds are going to be distributed starting May 10th of 2021. They're going to be two different tranches of money that they're going to have. The first is going to be in May of this year. The next is going to be in March of next year. And then coincidentally, all the money has to be spent by December 31st of 2024. But that's usually not a problem to figure out how to spend it fast enough. So that shouldn't be an issue. So some cities and counties and states should have already received money already, which is great. Payments to counties and to the larger cities, and I guess to the states as well, will be distributed directly to them. And then the smaller cities will actually, the money will be sent to the state, and then the state will distribute it to the cities supposedly within 30 days, although there is a method for delaying that by up to 30 days, I think. There's a delay there, but not too much. So everybody should have, so long as all the things go the way they should have the money in their accounts to spend within the next month or so. So that is really huge to be able to have that. And in most cases, those for those counties and for the larger cities, it's just going to be basically direct deposited into the city's checking account for all intents and purposes. All right, so when it comes to the approved uses for this money, there are several. First of all, it's about the COVID-19 response itself. So it's going to be the basically to help the economy recover. So it's going to be to help out small businesses and nonprofits and households and impacted industries, tourism, hospitality, those kind of things. It's also going to be to pay premium pay to essential workers. So this can cover overtime or pay these people extra in order to make up for all the work that they've been doing as an essential worker. It's also going to be able to help cover government services that have been hit with reduced revenues. So when you have essential services that the city or county provides to their residents and they're having a shortfall in money, this is an opportunity to make up for some of that. It can't be used for paying off debt and to do pension payments and things like that, but it's about the actual services. And this actually money can be used retroactively as well. So if the city or county has spent money ahead of having the money available, they can go back and use this for that as well. And then also they can use it to make investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And obviously broadband infrastructure is sort of the reason that we're all here today, because that's what we're all about as technology professionals in one way or another. So the next question becomes is, what does broadband infrastructure include? Because that sounds pretty broad, and I don't, that's the first question that everybody asks. So that was a question that was asked in a Q&A with the US Treasury, and thankfully they gave a very good answer that basically says it has a broad latitude, that they can have a broad latitude to use the funds, but specifically it can be used for modernization of cybersecurity, including hardware, software, and protection of critical infrastructure. So that's the hot thing to make sure to take from that. So it can be used for those things. And again, as an IT department, you're going to be fighting all of the other departments in your city or county to have access to all of that, that money. But even if you only got 1 or 2 or 3% of what was available, that still would make a pretty big difference in a lot of cases in a lot of IT departments that we talk to every day. So just as for example, from a hardware standpoint, you could look at perimeter security, that's firewalls, that's networking gear, backup appliances, physical multi-factor authentication tokens, just anything that's hardware. I'm assuming you can even use it for PCs and servers and that kind of thing as well, although I don't know specifically how that would fall into that. Software, endpoint protection, internet filtering, email filtering, all kinds of different things that you could use it for from the standpoint of cybersecurity. And then when it talks about protection of critical infrastructure, to me, that could be almost anything, but certainly it could be something for backup and disaster recovery, business continuity, basically any other type of security that doesn't fall specifically into hardware or software, which is basically just about anything. So the question becomes is, if you've been waiting for the right moment to spend money on cybersecurity, backup and disaster recovery, protection of your environment in general, now is the time. There's never going to be a better time than now, especially when you think about the SolarWinds exploit from back in the fall, the latest news about the Colonial Pipeware ransomware attack, which we've actually dealt with those exact same bad actors inside of our client base and recovered a whole lot faster than 5 days or whatever it was that Colonial did. Major federal attention. When you've got the president of the United States, giving national press conferences specifically about cybersecurity and saying that cybersecurity is an absolute, priority for the federal government today, that is going to give you a lot of pull with your city council, county commission, decision makers within your organization. And then on top of that, to have money available from the feds to use, it's never been a better time than now. So just to give you some sample numbers of different cities, and if you haven't gotten it already from us, I'm going to make sure that our sales guys reach out to everybody today and send you what we think the estimate is for your particular city or county as far as the numbers that are coming. But basically, just to give you some, for examples, Hoover, Alabama is where I live. They're going to get 15.9 million. Savannah, Georgia is going to get 57.64 million. Naperville, Illinois is going to get 13.39 million. And Beaumont, Texas is going to get $33,940,000. So again, it's going to be shared across those different uses, approved uses for that. But again, if you only had 1% of $57 million to spend on IT, that would still be a huge influx for most every IT department that we talk to on a daily basis. So that's the information there. And from there, I'll actually open it up to Q&A. I know we're going to be, so we did 10 minutes of actual, maybe 11 of presentation. We're open for questions. Like I said, anything other than how much money am I getting, because we can email that to you separately if we haven't done that already. But I'm going to allow you guys to unmute yourself if you would like to ask any questions specifically, or you can pop it up in the chat as well. And if you have any questions that you don't want to cover specifically now, you can always reach out to us separately afterwards. So I'm open for any questions in whatever format you'd like to throw at us in, and we'll just take it from there.